This conversation have been going on for a long time and now it's finally boiling over. For years, Black Americans have been told to keep quiet, stay polite, stay understanding, especially when it comes to how other Black people talk about them. But lately, the arrogance have been loud online, in interviews, in comments, in podcasts, even in real life. And now Black Americans is responding. Not with violence, not with hate, but with truth. Let's be clear about something right now. Black Americans is not ethnicity, not a vibe, not a slang, not just a passport. It's a lineage formed through centuries. You cannot immigrate into that. You can become American, you can become black in American, but you cannot rewrite Black American history and then talk down to the people who lived it. And that's where the line gets crossed. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Faith, and if this is your first time here, please subscribe, share, and hit the notification bell. Credit goes to the original creator for every single stitch and clip used in this episode. We've got more clips and conversation coming your way, so stay tuned. Let's chat.
You know, my heart is truly saddened for the Black Americans who refuse to accept the truth that they are of African descent. Here we go! Y'all have created, I guess, a new race amongst yourself to make you feel better. You can run from the truth, but the truth will always be that everybody who considers themselves Black American are Africans. No! You are an African. Girl, no! And Black people choosing to wear ignorance as a badge of honor is the very thing that keeps Black people stuck.
Girl, my heart is truly saddened that we still have to continuously have this conversation time and time again. Black Americans are not African. We have not, if you want to say that we have a distant ancestor from Africa, we are so far removed that we literally are different. Let me show you. We've been through something called an ethnogenesis. And I also want to break down how many generations it takes for you to be genetically different. Let me show you something. I'll be right back. Give me 2 seconds. Ethnogenesis, the formation of a new ethnic group, isn't about a fixed number of generations, but depends heavily on social, cultural, and environmental factors, potentially taken as little as a single generation, a few years under intense pressure, like a shared enemy, catalyst, or longer, with some studies suggesting new identity can solidify with 3 to 4 generations with distinct cultural markers and, I don't know how to pronounce this word, endogamy, I don't know, marrying within the group. It's more about a perfect storm of identity shift, not a genetic timeline. Now, let's get to the next slide. How many generations does it take to not be related? You're never truly not related if you go back far enough, like a 1,000+ years, as everyone shares common ancestors. But genetically, after about 8 to 10 generations, 250 to 300 years, there's a high chance you'll share no DNA from many specific ancestors, with genetic contributions becoming diluted to almost nothing, making you practically unrelated in a genetic sense. For practical DNA testing, 9+ generations back, like the 8th great grandparents, often means you're considered genetically distant or unrelated. 8 to 10 generations to not be related. How many generations, if we just going by the indoctrinated version of history, because y'all love what the YT taught y'all love it. So we just going to go by what the YT taught. How many generations have Black people been in America according to the indoctrinated version of history that we learned? Black people have been in America for around 12 to 14 generations. For the majority of those who are descendants of the slave trade, the first documented enslaved African arrived in the English colonies in 1619. Child, I'll be right back. Give me a second. It takes how many generations to not be related? 8 to 10? And how many generations have we been allegedly in the United States of America? 12 to 14 or something like that? We are not African. Even if you want to say that, if you want to believe the transatlantic slave, if you want to believe the straight out of Africa theory, which is a theory, which is a hypothesis, which is an idea, which is an educated guess. If you want to believe that, we are still no longer African people after 12 to 14 generations. And we're going to just say this. A lot of us were even here even before that. You all like to make jokes. And ma'am, you probably are African off the continent, from a continental African. You all, not all, like to make jokes and say that we're slave babies and we're grape babies and massa came and was graping. So clearly we have a little bit of everything going on inside of us genetically. Some of us have some European up in there. Some of us are just indigenous, Afro-indigenous, mixed with a little. Some of us are mixed with the Siberian indigenous, Native American, not indigenous, sorry. Like, come on, bruv. We're not African people, and it's very disrespectful to continuously try to force us to identify as a group of people that we have nothing in common with except for the same hue of complexion. Culturally, we're not the same. Maybe share a little bit of similarities. Absolutely, we share similarities with everybody all over the world. We eat rice. They eat rice dishes. They got, what is it called? The rice dish in Latin America. Y'all don't go to anybody else and force and harass them to identify as African. Now, once again, look back at the video that I just did. Look at this video. Rewind it. Watch it as many times as you need to. Even if you want to go by the indoctrinated version of history, the average Black American with a long lineage here that doesn't have an immigrant background is not a continental African, baby. If I were to go over to Africa, I would need all types of jab shots, vaccinations, all types of stuff. I wouldn't be able to drink the water. The climate probably wouldn't be befitting to me. Genetically, I am different, and that is okay. Leave us the fuck alone. Y'all don't do this to anybody else. Y'all are not harassing Jamaicans. Y'all are not harassing Brazilians that has one of the largest Afro populations in the Americas. Y'all ain't harassing them people, telling them they African, telling them they don't know who they are. Us here in the United States of America, we could actually successfully trace our lineage back way more than the average continental African could. They lie and say we don't know our grandparents, we don't know our great-grandparents. I grew up knowing my great-great-grandmother. I went to see her every single year of my life in Glasscock County in Georgia. I was raised by my great-grandmother in Brooklyn, New York. She was from Glasscock County, Georgia. Y'all get up here and tell these lies. It's nothing but projection. If you are African, be African. Stop forcing us. We're not. We've been here a lot of generations, even if you want to go by what the YT said. We are not continental Africans, and that's okay. Spread love is the Brooklyn way. If Johnny had 5 apples, bitch, it gets to a point, leave us alone.
I am not an African American. I'm an American. I am a Black American. I am definitely Black. And yes, my ancestors come from Africa. How long does a bloodline have to live in one land before they are considered a pure species of that land? Meaning, how long did my people have to be in America to say, hey, no, we're American, compared to some people who are English American, who are Irish American, who are German American from their ancestors, but they get to call themselves American. There's nothing wrong with being African American, but a true African American is someone that is from Africa and moved here, either first generation or second generation, and has a tie to that country that I do not have. One of the first census in Virginia that allowed for Black people to have a name was somebody from my family. So that means they were there long before. I think there comes a point where when you build a country, when you fight for freedom, make money and pay taxes and generationally live in a country.
African Americans really do not embrace their culture, and it is very, very worrying. How can I ask you where you're from and you tell me the state? You don't even know what ethnicity you are. You don't even know what country you originally come from. That is mad to me.
You guys are always saying that Black Americans don't know where they came from. Black Americans don't have a culture. So as usual, I'm going to draw you guys a picture to demonstrate some key facts here, okay? I can't draw, just pretend this is Africa, okay? This is South America, North America. This is Central America. And this is the Caribbean. It's not graphically up to scale, but just pretend for me. Europeans came over and they grabbed some people and took those people on boats. Okay, and they said, okay, some of y'all are coming here. This other country came and said, okay, we're taking you guys here. Another country came and said, we're going to take you guys here. Okay, let's say this is like Brazil. Okay, Brazilians, we consider them to have a culture. If you ask somebody today, In 2024, where are you from? And they say Brazil. You're like, cool, accepted answer. If you go to Haiti, and you're like, where are you from? And they say, I'm from Haiti, accepted answer. If you ask somebody, where are you from? And they say, I'm from Georgia, not accepted. No, where are you really from? See, you guys don't know where you came from. You guys don't know anything. Where's your language? Where's your history? What is wrong with y'all?
Can somebody educate me on why there's Black Americans that don't know where they're from, like their ethnicity and stuff? Like growing up Nigerian, having a grandfather in the house that's like straight from Nigeria, clothing, the food, the language, the accent, everything. I've always known since birth. I'm from California and I've recently moved to Atlanta, and it's clearly a cultural shock. But at the same time, I feel like it's very diverse here. But in the South, I feel like there's a lot of Black people that don't really know exactly where their ancestors are from. I guess that's what you would call it. Their ethnicity. A lot of people just identify with the South. And
that's where they're from.
I don't really know how accurate that is. Especially with it being Black History Month, I feel like it should be more of an important thing for people to understand where they're from, because you're not just Black. I seen this creator on here talking about how the differences between ethnicity, nationality, and whatever, all those other things. And they were saying that African American is an ethnicity now because of the way that Black people got to America. It's an ethnicity. And I don't know how much I agree on that.
And then he went on to say, oh, we're not just from here. No, you're not from here. You're Nigerian. You think it's a flex? Oh, I grew up with my grandfather. Y'all really think we didn't know our grandparents? My great-grandmother raised me. She was born in 1935. I knew her mother. She was born in 1919. Some of y'all cannot trace back more than your grandparents. We actually have a longer paper trail than a lot of deeply melanin-rich people outside of the United States of America. We've been Black Americans longer than your grandfather been Nigerian, bruv. Nigeria was not established as a country until 1960. Let me run that back. Nigeria, if you can proudly say, I'm Nigerian, then what the hell? Our country is more than a century older than yours. We've been Black American people longer than your grandfather or you have been Nigerian. Now, if I get up here and say you don't know where you're from, but where's he from outside of Nigeria? No, but before Nigeria, what was it called? But where did y'all migrate from to get to Nigeria? Like, it sounds crazy to think of, right? Y'all think that y'all have like a monopoly on like this excess melanin, to whereas only people that come from the African countries have this color skin. And it's blasphemy. We were the first people on planet Earth. We inhabited the entire planet. It's this African superiority complex to sit up here and say, well, we don't come from here. No, you don't come from here. We've been American longer than you've been Nigerian. Y'all need to have some respect. And I think y'all don't understand what ethnicity is. Let me read the definition for y'all. Ethnicity refers to a shared cultural identity based on ancestry, language, religion, traditions, and history, rather than just physical traits, unlike race, often based on physical appearance, or nationality, based on citizenship. So nationality-wise, we're American. Race-wise, we're Black. Black American and African American is synonymous with what our ethnicity is. Based on citizenship, ethnicity is self-identified, subjective group affiliation that can change over time. So if people just only identifying with the South, that's because culturally and ethnically, they're Southern Black Americans. How you going to sit up here and say we don't know where we are? Then when we do our panels, which I'm about to go live soon, and we say, what's your ethnicity? Y'all act like it's offensive. And Deontay Gobbleneck, Kyle, said, oh, y'all acting like slave catchers, asking where's the freedom papers? These people have been literally, since they got here, forcing us to identify with them by way of saying we don't know where we come from and we have no culture, when literally they're walking around as physical embodiments of our culture. They absorb every fucking thing that we are. Every single fiber and essence of our being is absorbed by these people when they come over here. So to sit up here and say we don't know where we're from when our country is older than yours, a country that we built And let's get into what constitutes as an ancestor, because I think y'all don't know what an ancestor is. Y'all keep thinking that we need to go back 5,000 blood clot years. Give me 1 second. An ancestor is any person from whom one is directly descended, typically in a vertical line of ascent. Parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, etc. They are defined by biological descent, bloodline, and genealogy, the paper trail that we always tell y'all about. Though adoptive parents are often considered social or milk line ancestors, they represent the previous generations from which a person inherits, distinguishing them from collateral relatives like aunts or cousins. A lot of us grew up with our ancestors.
Okay.
I had the fortune of knowing my great-great-grandmother. She never told me she was African, ever. She told me other things about who she was, which I don't have to disclose because who the fuck are y'all? So an ancestor is literally a grandparent. My grandparent, my grandma on both sides passed on. Those are my ancestors. My great-grandmother that raised me, my ancestor. I was raised by my fucking ancestors, and they told me who they were. So I'm supposed to believe you, with your Nigerian coming from a baby-ass country, which my ancestors is older than your country, telling us we don't know where we're from and you don't believe it and you don't know how to feel about it, versus what our actual ancestors told us. Where was your grandfather in number 4? Nigeria was established in 1960. Anyways, they've been doing this. They keep doing it and being condescending and acting like they don't know. And we keep saying we're American. They cannot accept it. They don't do this to Brazilians that has a large Afro population. They don't do this to the Caribbeans. They ain't telling a Haitian, oh no, but where your family really from? I don't know why it's so hard for them to conceive of the fact that we are Americans. We're American. We're American. We're Black American. Some still go by African American. We are Negro. Whatever the fuck you want to call it, we're American. Build a bridge and get over it, bitch. We ain't you and you ain't us. And that's okay. Spread love is the Brooklyn way.
I am not an African. I am a Black American. What that means is that my entire family has come from America. I am the descendant of people that were slaves. That's what that means when I tell you that I am a Black American. That means that the people that have been in my family for generations built this country. That means that my grandfather, who served in World War II, that helped fight and defend this country, and was, by the way, denied GI Bill benefits because he was Black, is a part of the history of this country. I am not Haitian. I'm not Nigerian. I am not from any of these other countries. I am a full-blooded 100% Black American. And what that means is that I will speak on Black American culture in any way that I please, but what I will also do is I will not allow for it to continue to be co-opted by Africans who come here with so many more resources than your average Black American does, try to wrap themselves up in our struggle, our oppression, our history, and try to co-opt every space that we have built for ourselves, like they've done in the destruction of the Essence Music Festival. So don't try to discount what I say and try to pretend that I'm Haitian or I'm not American or whatever. No, I'm 100% Black American.
So I've been in Ghana for the past week. This is my second visit. And surprisingly, this is what I've learned. Africans do not hate us. Africans don't hate us at all. As a matter of fact, that is what the media tells us. So we don't come here. So we don't connect with our culture, with our people, with our roots. They tell us that, so we stay away. So we don't help build our communities. They want to keep communities poor. And they show us the worst parts of Africa, so we're not interested in coming. But it's all a lie. I have not been mistreated at all since I've been here. I've actually been shown a lot of love. A lot of love. They love to see us coming back. Is there jealousy? Do you get side eyes from people? Yeah, of course. That's anywhere you go. That's everywhere. If you've been wanting to come back home, come back home. I have the most peace. And I definitely don't spend a lot of money when I'm here.
Africa are you from?
I'm from America. That's what we're saying. Just
What
like a
country in
Jamaican,
Africa
just like
are
a
you
no,
from?
no, no. Hold on. Just like somebody from Jamaica, they're not gonna say what country in Africa they from. Somebody in Haiti is not gonna say what country from. They're gonna say they're Haitian.
Because they were closer from, what is it called, the triangular slave
But then
trade.
when you ask them that question, they're not gonna have a definitive answer.
That's because they're already in their own community of Caribbeans, the Haitians, Jamaicans. They're all like in one bowl. Just as
But
far
Black Americans are in their own bowl as well.
Fam, no lie. I think I'm starting to despise the people that say that they not from Africa, the black people that say they're not from Africa. I say I'm not African American, I'm just American. I was born in America. We are the only ethnic group that doesn't know, doesn't care where we from, and doesn't take pride in being from somewhere else, as well as being American. If you met or grew up with white people, they know where they came here from, where their grandparents from, and they take pride in that as well as being American. We're the only group that like don't want to find out and completely write it off and say that we're just American.
Not all African Americans came from Africa. We were a global melanated planet, which means we were absolutely everywhere. Melanated people were not only on the continent of Africa, we were everywhere. But part of the imprisoning of our consciousness has come from making us feel like we were only in some parts, and Europe belonged to the Mzungus, and Asia belonged to the Asians, and Africa belonged to the Africans. It's a global invasion, beloveds. We were everywhere. And so there are those African American brothers and sisters, I'm sorry I keep calling you African American, Native American, who just know, they feel such a connection to that land. But they created this narrative like everyone was a slave, and that's how they were able to disenfranchise.
The whites don't even see you as American. They see you as second-class citizen from Africa. This is why they call you African American. The difference between Black Americans and Africans is we don't give a fuck about what white people see us as or what white people think. We do not care. We don't worship whiteness. When they threatened us with segregation, majority of us said, bring it on. We don't give a damn. We're not walking up to them. White people care about Black people in America way more than we care about them.
As Black Americans, we need to normalize when people ask us where we're from, we simply say we're from America, because that is true. But you know what? Some people are intellectually curious, and so they might say, oh, via where? And, you know, they might be trying to build a bond with you. And you can simply say, I'm multi-generational American. My ancestors came to America via the transatlantic slave trade hundreds of years ago. And I use that all the time, and people literally grasp it immediately.
If there's one thing that TikTok has taught me is that the Black diaspora fundamentally has no idea and understanding of the complex reality and existence of Black Americans in America. This particularly is true for Black British people who think they have a grasp and hold on what a Black American is, because comparatively they see themselves as a similar Black person in a country like the UK.
America considers itself the default, so Black Americans are considered the Black default. Saying this, Jamal Berkman made a video. You are allowed to disagree with him. You can't tell him to shut up. You cannot tell him that he's in other people's business and he needs to stop being in Black Americans' business, because the thing is, the Black American business came to us.
I think that this conversation that this person is attempting to start is a really good one, but it just proves how much is lost and unknown by the diaspora. American exceptionalism is often thrown out when discussing Black Americans, not realizing that Black Americans are the colonized group within the imperial entity. We don't decide what the empire is doing. We are byproducts of being American. We are oppressed in our own country, and since we live here, we don't feel, see, or know the soft power of being Black American abroad. Sinners is a very specific part of Black American culture, history, and reality, and it doesn't even represent all Black Americans. British people don't have a grasp on the nuances and complexities of what it means to be Black in a neo-colonizing place like America. Jamal and many other Black Brits consume Black American media, and that's your only education on us. That, coupled with the British arrogance and superiority complex that some of you have, and you thinking you're smarter than us, the takes are often wrong because you don't know more about our existence and culture than us. Saying things like Motown was a gimmick was one of my first straws. Our entire culture was built out of survival while America was literally murdering us. We aren't the default, we are just the oppressed group that exists under American hegemony. Any atrocity America has committed abroad was an experiment that was first tested on Native Americans and Black Americans first. We are the targets in this country, and we are suffering in this country. All the talk about empire coming from the British is really hypocritical due to the British Empire quite literally changing the face of the world and the OG colonizers. The diaspora doesn't understand that we are the products of colonization and imperialism and are facing the remnants of that era today.
Africans, stop calling black Americans African Americans. They do not like it. They said it's racist. Call them black Americans. They don't like being called African American. They don't like it at all. They don't want anything associated with Africans. So respectful to them. Respect their decision. They don't like being called African American. America is their roots. America is their identity. So be respectful.
Let's talk about access. Immigration pathway into United States didn't open magically. They opened because Black Americans organized, protested, voted, bled, and died to dismantle explicitly racist law. Civil rights law didn't just help Black Americans. They helped everyone who come after. So when someone arrived decades later and say, why can't you people get it together? Without acknowledging that history is not confidence, it's ignorance. And sometimes it's ignorance dressed up as a hard truth. And Black American is finally calling it out. The same people who mocked Black American culture will gladly profit from it, mimic it, or use it as a social currency while claiming they are not like those Black people. You cannot consume the culture that disrespects the creator. You can't benefit from the image and disown the people. And you definitely can't rewrite the story to position yourself as morally above the very group that made space for you to exist freely in this country. Black Americans are not asking for praise. They are asking for respect. Respect for history. Respect for boundaries. Respect for the fact that survival under oppression does not look like perfection. And let's also say this clearly. Many Africans and Caribbean deeply respect Black American history. Many understand that without Black American struggle, they wouldn't have the opportunity they now enjoy. And here is the part nobody likes to admit. White supremacy benefits when Black people are divided. So when Black American response is not just emotional, it's strategic. It's saying we will not be erased, will not be scapegoated, and will not be talked down in our own house, because American is our house, built by their ancestors, built by their labor, changed by their resistance. And acknowledging that doesn't take anything away from immigrants. It simply puts the story back in its proper order. This moment isn't about shutting anyone out. It's about setting the record straight. You can be proud of where you come from without disrespecting where someone else comes from. You can succeed without stepping on the history of others. And you can exist in Black Americans without trying to redefine it to suit your ego. Black American isn't asking to be centered in every conversation. They are demanding not to be erased from their own. And honestly, that response is overdue. If this makes you uncomfortable, ask yourself why. Because truth doesn't need arrogance to stand, and respect doesn't require silence. If you made it this far, drop your thoughts respectfully. Kindly like, subscribe, and share, because conversations like this don't trend unless we push them. See you in my next video.